Welcome to Monday, the 4th day of April, 2022, your Day Weather Podcast, brought to you exclusively by Cowboy State Daily, Wyoming's news authority. Visit them at cowboystatedaily.com and on their Facebook page. We're headed to a lot of wind, folks. We got a lot to talk about. First of all, we've got a high wind event through Wednesday for the entire western United States. If you're somewhere in the western United States, you're going to be dealing with the wind, especially in the central and northern Rockies. Mountain snow and wind is coming as well. The mountain passes and the mountain areas are going to see a quick period of heavy snow and wind, while colder temperatures, cold wind chills hit the plains. We see a break in the weather pattern. There is a break Thursday through Sunday with less wind and moderating temperatures. We're monitoring a possible stronger storm next week, and even though we're a week away, I just want to put a bug in the ear of stock growers, anyone in calving or lambing operations, and anybody that needs to travel next week. Just monitor this podcast and we'll show you kind of what we're looking at for next week. But first things first, concentrating on the next couple of days. Today's satellite photo really shows a lot. You see this swirl? We've got an upper low right here off the coast of British Columbia. And you see these streaky clouds right here? These are associated with the very strong jet stream winds that are pushing into the Pacific Northwest right now, driving heavy rain and heavy snow into the Cascades and the coastal areas of Washington and Oregon. And you see these little speckles of clouds right here? This is an indication of a cold, moist, and unstable atmosphere. Instability, meaning it'll be easy to make precipitation form as this cold, moist, unstable air gets driven into the Pacific Northwest and Northern Rockies here over the next 48 hours. And graphically, here at 18,000 feet, the 500 millibar chart, this is what we were showing you last week, how close the lines were together, which means some very powerful winds, and these powerful winds are going over the water. So they're picking up the water and driving into the Pacific Northwest coast. The jet stream winds are incredibly impressive. Notice right here in this band right here, you've got wind speeds in excess of 175 to over 200 miles an hour all across the North Pacific coming into the northern and central Rockies. This is by mid-morning today. This is by noon tomorrow. And you can see these strong winds are coming, and now they're crossing the Continental Divide. When these winds go along and over the divide at a nearly perpendicular fashion, in 3 dimensions, you get air that moves like this, comes down over the mountains right here, and these wave features bring in the high energy wind to the ground. And so what'll happen is you get a very, very high potential for very high wind gusts in this type of pattern all along the Continental Divide from Montana down to New Mexico. Both sides of the divide, but especially right at and just east of the divide. These are the wind gusts through Wednesday night, and these may be conservative, but you see all the orange and all the reds here. You can see some really strong winds over South Pass, Wyoming, over the Wind River Mountain areas, but the entire I-80 corridor of Nebraska, Wyoming, getting pummeled by the wind. I-70 gets pummeled by the wind. I-15 into Utah gets pummeled by the wind. And look at these strong winds across Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, into the Dakotas. So be ready for the wind. Traveling along I-25, the north-south winds, north-south roadways, however, are going to be impacted the most by the wind. So like I-25 and any time a road you're on that goes north-south, that's where the winds will be the worst. If you're headed west or eastbound, it's either a headwind or a tailwind, but it could be a turbulent wind as well. And then if you focus in a little bit more, you can see the strong winds. Even the Bighorn Basin of Wyoming that normally is sheltered from high winds will see some very strong winds as well. The upper Green River Basin of Wyoming getting the winds. You can see a little bit of a wind shadow here in Weld County, Colorado, but the Colorado Front Range, Fort Collins, Wellington, Denver, Boulder. Look at Boulder right here. Boulder going to have a high wind event as well. There will be moist Pacific air get driven in by these winds. This will be a good mountain snow. I don't think the models are showing as much snow as they should that'll fall in the mountains. But the mountains of Colorado's central northern mountains, look at the Black Hills. The Black Hills are going to do well with this, especially Tuesday night and Wednesday. The Bighorns get a good shot of snow. The Absarokas, the Wind Rivers, the Tetons, And then back up here, you can see the heavier precipitation closer to the moisture source there. So this is what we've got to get through. Mountain snow, a high wind event on the plains, colder temperature readings. This is one of these situations where get your garbage cans secured. You've got really a good chunk of day today to get kind of ready for the wind. But by afternoon today and tonight and tomorrow and into Wednesday, those winds are going to blow fast and they're going to blow furious. It will cause travel problems as well. Temperatures are going to come in cold. This is by Wednesday afternoon, so you can see that a lot of the central and western United States, relative to average temperatures, are going to be pretty chilly, and then you factor in the wind chill. It's going to be raw. I think raw is the best way to describe it. By Wednesday morning, these strong jet stream winds spin up a low over the northern plains. Going to be a winter storm event up here. The counterclockwise spin drives those colder temperatures in from the north, but that northerly wind flow is what's going to get those northern Black Hills of South Dakota and Wyoming some snow on the backside of this system. As we go forward, this is for Saturday morning. Notice a westerly wind flow comes in for Friday. This would be Friday, Saturday, and part of Sunday. But what will happen is after a mild stretch of weather Friday through Sunday, this area right here, high pressure building up over the Aleutians, and then we've got another trough system beginning to form right here. If this high pressure ridge builds up and doesn't get cut off, what will happen is a large trough will form in the western United States in response to that. And this is what our long-range charts are suggesting. Now I'm going to show you the three different main models we look at. This is the European model by Tuesday morning the 12th. We got a deep, very large 500 millibar low that's closed off. You can see closed off meaning the air is circulating around it in circles, and that's an indication of a strong storm system. And so this is a system that is big, will be slow moving, and when you get a high pressure ridge in the southeastern United States and a high pressure ridge behind it, these tend to be these slower moving, larger spring storms. That's the European model. This is the Canadian model. This is the American model. Now, obviously there's differences. However, they're not terribly large differences, mainly timing differences. So when we see this type of agreement this far out, that does lend to a little bit of confidence that we are going to be dealing next week with some type of storm. So stay tuned. It's a week away. A lot could change, but I just want to let folks know, especially stock growers and anybody with travel plans next week, let's just keep an eye on it. Let's see what happens as we go forward. First things first, though, we've got to take care of the next 48 hours, which will be nothing more than wind, colder temperatures, colder wind chills, mountain snow, and some rain and snow showers on the plains. Have yourself a great Monday.